welcome to the hand of God. Today I'll be expanding upon yesterday's point. Oh. Ugh. Okay, I hit the paper. Welcome everyone once again. Thank you to my returning viewers, both now and those watching in the future. My name is CHIMAOGE, government name CHIMAOGE Chijioke Ibe. My alternate white structure name is CHIMAOGE Chijioke Ibenwuku. Mentioned it before, but I'll say it again now in this way. Those of you can imagine that my historical family last name, and I will say the history is not that long relatively, because the names Ibenwuku refer to my great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather respectively, so it's not that long ago. It's not like it's been 1,000 years or something me using that last name. But you can imagine, due to colonialism and things like that, how the name could have been shortened to Ibe. That's all that happened. My foremost nickname, my forename, my name before Ahambu, I call it. Yes, I have an advanced naming philosophy. It's Moge, M-A-O-G-E. It means knowledge, time, and also knows the time. Also, Amadioha, the good husband of the people. Shortened form of CHIMAOGE. I like it better than CHIMAOGE, but CHIMAOGE is my most exact name. Just because you like something more doesn't mean it's your name. Side note, just because something's your name doesn't mean it's good. CHIMAOGE is not the best name. The problem is no one has a good name basically in the world today. Peter and Paul rule the earth. My name is still better than 99% of people. Again, doesn't mean it's good. It just shows how sorry the times are. Anyway. Wow, it's hot in here. Temperature consistency. Forgive me. I'm wondering what to do. Maybe let me roll up my pants a bit. Well, registered a viewer. Thank you very much. Every view is a blessing. Anyway, and I've registered comments. Thank you once again. Every comment is a blessing. I read comments at my discretion. I was born in what is now called Washington, D.C. In 1998. And that's during the Capricorn season. I am what most people will call a Capricorn. I am a son of Capricorn. Abum onye lulo miri. Abumotu mwe lulo miri. Yes. Currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. My matrilineal village is Ebem Ohafi in West Africa. The village that is a reference point for my patrilineage is Oji Urata, also very close in West Africa, in the Bight of Biafra area. Yes. And I'll just say it because it's unavoidable. I think using the Biafra term is loaded. I just want to make clear I'm not a proponent of the Biafra movement, although I have respect for, people who have positively agitated there in the past, although I just don't think it's the best. And I think it's kind of unavoidable. I've talked about my relations in the past. I have a deceased relative whose name is Patrick Chiadu Amadi. He was, during the first Biafra movement, the third in command of the Biafran forces. Okay, I'm just saying that because at some point you have to know who you are and relation to prominent people. I don't want to get too much into the politics. Again, I never met him. I'm not even sure when he passed, unfortunately. I unfortunately didn't even know I was related to him until I was an adult. But that is someone that I'm related to. I'll say it like this. He's apparently, or was, he's passed now, related to my biological father's mother. So that's the connection. Anyway, I just have to note that because at some point, you know, it's a little weird to mention things you have some prominent connection to that people might find relevant and not note the connection. But anyway, I'm just saying that's there. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into politics. I need to find out more about the full details of my familial relation there. But anyway, apparently from what I was told, my elders in Yum would refer to him as Ndapati. So that is just something to know. Anyway, and I just want to go out and say this. I know a lot of people, again, my family situation I've talked about is messy. A lot of people have a fear of talking about prominent relatives or noting who they are. That's very bad. It's not good to go about in the world and not tell people who you're related to. Anyway, I'm just noting that. Anyway, the whole point is, I'm not a proponent of the Biafra movement. At the same time, I'm also not a proponent of current political structures. I just think that things need to be restructured. And I'll leave it at that, because current demarcations and things are not proper. If you notice, I did not use a certain word beginning with N to describe my ancestral points of connection, because again, that's just lines on a map. It's not appropriate. I'll leave it at that for now. Anyway, that's just a reference point for who I am. I will note I have other relatives of prominence. I'm just not mentioning them because my family situation is messy at the moment. And at some point, you know, I have certain elders who might get upset. You know, if you're upset at your son for scattering a pile of ants you created, you should already, Amadioha should be talking to you more. I'll leave it at that. You see, when family is messy, it's hard to even introduce yourself. You see, your family is a part of yourself, but it's a part of yourself you have relatively little control over because you are just one member of it. I'll begin to get into it more today. I don't remember the exact wording of the title I used. The way the setup here is on live, I can't see the title back with this frame I'm using. But I know I said something like, ignoring spiritual information is, I either said abuse of Amadioha or a sin against Amadioha. I don't remember which one I used. I'm translating into English. The term I want to use is Aru Amadioha. You see, that's an extension of Arurala. Arurala is evil. You can also call it abuse of the land or pressure on the land. But the Aru, it's better to translate it as pressure. People might disagree, that's fine. It's hard to translate. It's just if you're pressuring the land, you're abusing it. Don't pressure the land, that's abuse. So if you abuse Amadioha, it's the worst one because you've already abused the land too much. Okay, this is a concept I'm exploring. It's an extension of the concept I was exploring on the last live stream. Okay. So, anyway, let's get into it. Kapranam Nogo Alsa Shangagu. What am I saying? I'm calling in all of my ancestors and also more intimately relatives who passed away. It's important to have support when you pray. And then I'm also calling in on different forces to clear out evil forces. Also, that's the word for the animal most people call the squirrel. That is a manifestation of Oshun. Wipes away evil. Shango, one person, the god of thunder. Agu, another person, manifests as the cat. Shangagu, a type of cat. The thing called the clouded leopard, that's one version of it. That's a very aggressive way to just fix up a prayer. I'm just making sure this prayer is as clean as possible. I don't want any demons to come in. You see, when disease is everywhere in the world physically, demons are everywhere spiritually. Anyway, so, like I was talking about yesterday, and again, the hand of God is where I come to go further in depth on previous ideas. Another way to think of it are these are my rough drafts of my ideas. You see, you shouldn't only begin your ideas writing. It's actually better to begin them speaking and yes, to record it. Anyway, discarding spiritual information is illogical. There's a lot of evidence that spirits exist. Now that is a vast category of things. I'm not telling you to believe in every spirit. I'm not telling you to believe every piece of information you've ever heard about a spirit or spirits. It's just, well, it is what it is. Anyway, just thinking here. I'm experimenting with my pacing when I speak. Sometimes I go very fast, not bad, but sometimes it's good to take a slow pace. What am I saying here? So, don't discount spiritual information. Then, and I talked about this when I was preparing this on the previous live stream I did on Inquiria. Check that out as well. Notice the negative trend of representing Amadioha as just a weird spirit next to a sheep throwing lightning at people. Okay, I've noticed that online. I think that has to stop. You need to have a more comprehensive representation, especially because Amadioha, and for those of you who don't know, Amadioha is in what my language, or most people call the Igbo language, a name for the god of thunder. It's the most common one. Amadioha, the good husband of the people. So if you believe that all the archetypes of the gods are different things, which I don't, but if you believe that, you would probably say that is the Igbo god of thunder. But you know, I just don't think that's the best way to express it metaphysically. Anyway. What am I saying here? The point is that representation isn't good. And I'm trying to kind of unite these threads. I think there's a connection here. I think this is going to end up being a pre-recorded video, the idea I put out here. Yeah. I think what I'm struggling with, because you see, before you put an idea out, you can see where it's going. I think what I'm struggling with is the fact that the information about Amadioha is not universally known. I can put it together. It's just, I have a very worldly point to make. It's just, I don't want it to come out and sound like I'm just screaming at people to respect Amadioha. What if you don't even speak my language? You know, we live in a time where everyone's disconnected physically and spiritually. We can talk to spirits, we can communicate with spirits, but our ability to do so is limited, and I think that's just due to vast illness and disconnection, you know. I think as we get stronger and healthier, we could do more. I think in times past, people were better, so, you know, that could happen. Now it's hard. The whole point is, you know, if someone can't really communicate with spirits easily, and then also if the idea we have of Amadioha to start off of is kind of warped, it doesn't make sense for me to just scream. Well, how do I say it? Because Amadioha is a thing. I can talk about that thing, that principle, in many different ways. It's just, because of the trend I'm talking about, I want to talk about it using the word Amadioha. But if I use the word Amadioha, the point might end up being too provincial. That's what I'm really thinking about. Anyway. Let's think about this. mistaking here, forgive me. Let's use this thing. Forgive me, I'm thinking. Well, let's just go forward, see what comes out. So, what am I saying? I'm talking about my Uzibu, my place of way of being. Everybody has one. Some are bigger than others. I'll go ahead and say it. Mine is the biggest. But this is not a superhero showdown movie. We don't have to be obsessed with that. And at the end of the day, Amadioha, the good husband of the people. So it's a collective thing. Anyway, you see, let me begin like this. One thing I've seen a lot is that people get attacked if they say spirits and or God or whatever. Let's just say spirits told them they're very good. And I don't even know what else to say. And it's right there. I've talked before in the last couple of days about how everybody today, at least many people, want to become God. They want to become the number one being, but the number one being that cannot possibly exist. Someone who can do anything and everything by themselves and has literally no equal. That is not possible. If you have no equal, you have no connections. And if you have no connections, you can't do anything. I'm the head of the greatest man alive, but there are many people who can look me in the eye, and there are many people who on many occasions are above me. There are many people who have skills I do not have. I think I'll give an example. I like playing soccer. I haven't played in a while, I like playing soccer. I think when I'm at my best, I'm good. That's already a loaded statement because in the world today, even so-called professional soccer players cannot say they're good without getting attacked by millions of people. God erupts. But I'll say this, you will never find me in goal. The goalkeeper, the inche, the one who sits down the thought is so integral that without it, Chuku, energy, the father, which is what that sport is a manifestation of, which is what you should call it. Soccer literally means Chuku. Why do we all look at it? We want to be energized. We need to make it better. But anyway, without the inche, what we call the goalkeeper, apparently that term is pejorative. Maybe that's why the position doesn't get as much support as it should. But without the goalkeeper, there is no soccer. There is no chuku. So when I'm on the soccer field, you'll never see me say I'm better than the goalkeeper. Let me find a second example. think another example is, you know, okay, I like to sing, but I'm not Mr. High Notes. There are many people who can hit the high notes better than me. I will never say I can hit the high notes better than, say, Beyonce. Shout out to Beyonce. But, yeah, like... like you I know sometimes I do something, maybe I'll say like, but it has to come out in the moment. Like as soon as I gear up to it, no. The ancestors have not authorized the destruction of my vocal cords. But anyway, what's the point I'm making here? There's this idea of mutual exclusivity. And how does that dovetail with the what is called ignoring of spiritual information? Because a lot of spiritual information that comes through in the world today is meant to be of urgent use. What does that mean? It has to shake the table. The one who shakes the table in that moment is Amadioha. You see, Amadioha is a thing. It's not just a person. It's a thing. It is also a role. The one who shakes the role, the one who shakes the table is playing the role of Amadioha. Let me connect it to the images I see. People think that if someone is better than them, that is the end of their cycle. And I'll just say it like that. They think that is their fading. And people are sensational, so they believe that when they fade, an African man holding lightning in his hand next to a sheep is gonna be the one better than them. Oh wow, that was actually kind of easy. That's kind of scary when you think about it. God fears Amadioha more than anyone else. I also want to tie in this point. I'm just gonna go. Elebu Amadioha. What does that mean? He's there in the prison, but his scaffolding is Amadioha, the worst version, and well, he's booming something. You see, if you need to deal with just one criminal as someone who rounds up criminal, that's a very easy job. They send in Ele to represent Amadioha during the easy job. I'm sorry, man. The hand of God is not always stressful. Okay, let me advance that point in a more worldly way. Let's say, I mean, you know what I mean, but let me just say it so that all the people who said, my ancestors say means ill. Some of these, because there's a habit in my language, and I know it happens in other African languages, of pretending to be able to speak or whatever by making noise. So you'll say, Order in the court, order in the court, order in the court. No, seriously. We have to really think of our image of justice, because I've been talking a lot about how crime is everywhere. Crime against morality, crime against nature, even somehow crime against the imperfect. And I'm just going to say it like that because I'm looking at the major crimes. Because we have to be honest, the crimes that laws of governments today have well, the stuff that laws of governments today have unjustly declared crimes tend to be more minor. That doesn't mean it can't mess you up, but they tend to be more minor. The caveat to that is oftentimes, and I'm not saying most of the time, but often enough that you can just say that these legal systems are very unjust. They accuse an innocent person of a very serious crime. But anyway, people are even going past those laws. Things like do not violate, do not delete life, you see. And it's really one of those things. The worse the crime is that someone has committed as an individual or a disorganized group, the easier it is to catch them. But people are not in the habit of catching crimes, and more than that, they're not in the habit of even beginning to prevent crime. So because of that, we're used to what I'll call respectfully individuals who are not well equipped doling out bootleg justice. That's what I'll call it for now. So, you know, there are lots of instances where an unjust attempt to stop crime has happened, and it involves often one man with something that, you know, explodes doing something. And then that becomes the image of what it means to stop crime. And then now you have Amadioha floating in the sky with something that explodes. Yeah, that's something crazy. Yeah, this will be a video. Yeah, this is a good idea. So I think, obviously this one has to be expressed multiple times. I think the first time, I'm going to just use the word Amadioha, then next the God of Thunder. And maybe I'll just say justice, yeah. That's deep, but it's kind of simple. Yeah. Yeah. There's a war on the one that shakes the table. Both in idea and in details, in spirit. Yeah, so you can call Chukwu the spirit. Chukwu is in everything. That's why Chukwu is complicated. But anyway, the idea has been destroyed such that you think he's the one who will make you fade. Because really, you know, obviously, you know, otherworldly forces have full license to act when stopping justice, but it's not ideal for fading to happen in that process. Reform is their goal, you see. And that's because life is valuable. You see, if someone's a criminal in this life, they're not themselves. So you want that true self to return. You see, the self is one of the 49 things. I'm just gonna leave that there. You know, I need charts. I need floating things. But I mean, so many people have philosophized about what the self is. I don't think you should be too distracted. I'll be honest. Philosophizing about what the self is, it seems like asking what life is. What is life? What's the meaning of life? What is life, man? What's the meaning of life, man? I have some examples I want to use, but when using sports analogies, I'm trying not to single out individual players, because I know that can be unfair, but it's like sometimes when you see a player is not doing well on the pitch, it's like, are they... Anyway, just thinking for a second there. Yeah. Anyway, it's weird. I feel like I've made my point, but I don't think I'm done. What's the energy today? I know in the previous few Hand of Gods, I've just gone and say, all right, let me just unite everything and go full speed forward and give a refined remontada, bialza, second version of what the points I made. I don't know if I want to do it like that. I'm not going to do it. Order in the cards. There's order in the cards. I hit the paper. I get the cash. I hit the paper. I hit the cash. Cash, paper. Interesting. I think another thing to consider is people are way too uptight. I'll just use myself as an example. And I do this, okay? I'll go up to people and say, hey, you know, I prayed, I heard this. What do you think? People go, whoa. It's not that deep. It's the same as if I said, hey, I saw this article. What do you think? Like, spirits are people, man. At the end of the day, the most dangerous entities are in this life. So why do you fear spirits? I'm not saying the spirits don't make ally kinda. You know what I mean? Like, say you have, you know, a criminal who, you know, who's always eating, I don't want to use food. Maybe you have a criminal who doesn't move much. Right? The dangerous entity to them is I guess they're sitting. Maybe this is a bad example. Okay, maybe there's always, and I'll just use the common term, wasps outside their house. So then they sit all the time. That makes it hard for them to move. Then the spirits make halakha, and then one night they just tell them to lay in bed, and they talk to them about how they're a criminal. So the most dangerous entity to them were the wasps, but then the spirits make halakha. But what am I saying here? People move as if they're afraid of spirits, but they're not afraid of living people. There's a lot of things people do that shows they're not afraid enough of living people. I mean, I'm just gonna say, going to the club. You gotta really love people to be in the club. You walk in there. I've been to the club, man. I'm not boring, but like, I don't. But let me say that a different way. I guess I'm past the age of 22, so I've been to the club before, but I'm not a club like I don't drink, I don't smoke, and then first of all, that thing is not what it was advertised when I was younger. At least the videos I saw of it, people were dancing. When was the last time I went to the club? Maybe like 3 years ago. People don't dance, man. And then it's just packed in. Anyway, you gotta love people to be in the club. You gotta love them. You gotta love their sweat. And also just let me just move on. The point I'm making there. Let's hapuebe kwensu ni here. The point I'm making about a kwensu there is that's full of living things that are very dangerous potentially, right? This is serious. We need to find different ways to congregate and you know, obtain sweetness from each other. Amadioha, Aramekunzu, Webuekunzu, Nuaketa, Webuekunzu, Narala, Arala, Kunzu, Illichai. is an interesting draft. I think this is a good one. I don't know about the structure, but everything else is good. My life is interesting. I feel like I force it out when it's real. Yeah, because I used to snicker. I was like, what's going on? But now I'm like, I'm Amadioha. There's a string here now. Oh, this is... Anyway. And then, if you naturally grow out a beard, grow the beard. And you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I want yeah, anyway, what boy comes in the wild? What boy comes in the wild? Thank you. Every comment is a blessing. Every comment is a blessing. I read them at my discretion. Yeah, anyway. Anyway, the whole point of this is, if you want to represent, let me just say, if you want to represent Amadioha, don't just put a picture of your brother there holding a lightning bolt next to a sheep. Maybe, should I just said that? Like, what is it? And I want to go into this quickly. I saw a video really yesterday about Allah, A-L-A, which just means land. And it said Allah is the Igbo goddess who destroys worlds. Please, just be better than that. I'm just gonna say that. Is that it for today? I know I have my 30-minute rule of thumb. I think the rule of thumb is set aside for the hand of God. So apparently the hand of God can be more bootleg than the rest of Amadioha. I think the point is Amadioha wants to get to the point where he can calm down. So he's calm, because you see, the hand of God never manifests as just a person, really. It's a being. Like, because for example, I really want to talk about this, the life forms thing. You know what? Let me draw my chart, my life forms chart. So, just gonna do it here. Yes, there is a hierarchy. Parentheses. Wow, that's my language too. This is interesting. Okay. Slash gift slash the gift that keeps on giving. Lord have mercy. Just more context. Like, Allah, in my opinion, is one of the 49 things that undergirds existence, and there are onyeka, there are saints, whatever, within that thing that represent that thing, whatever. And like any other thing, it's 11:11 right now. Let's make a wish. Can you measure out? Let's fix the land in this world. So yeah, like any other thing, you know, it can defend itself, whatever. But Allah, one is just if you speak my language, if you're just talking about land or commonly the ground, Allah, very basic. Apparently, basic means Allah, and then just describing that as a goddess who consumes villages or whatever. Do you live in quicksand? Divination. It's like, what's my English reference point? It's like if you said, well, let me just say it. Land is a goddess that consumes work. People just take advantage of the fact that it's in an African language, and then they just want to make it dramatic. Have you heard of Allah? Watch it. Let me just draw my life forms thing. Also, let me draw the outer limits. I've been wanting to talk about this. Why have I not? Being okay. Yeah. So Z E he had okay. Okay. Whatever. Okay, let me okay, this is an interesting one. Anyway, you can see my chart. Also check out my video on Moge about my problems with the late Kevin Samuels. Check it out. You can kind of see that here. That's what that is. But anyway, here's the chart. Let me explain it. Ooh, reference point. So there are different types of life forms, and they exist all throughout of existence and beyond, both physical and spiritual, right? You have living beings that are life forms, and then you have spirits that are also life forms, because there's also life in the spirit. So you have existence, and then you also have stuff outside of existence. What do I mean by that? I'm not talking about God. I'm not talking about God. What I'm talking about is I'm just kind of defining it a little different. So existence is everything that in addition to is carries. In addition to boo, or in addition to z on a boo. So it's like if something is, it has scaffolding. But to exist, the scaffolding has to have something in it, okay? I'm gonna get diagrams and stuff, it'll be better in the future. So that's existence. existence has three primary quadrants. There's the universe, this world. You can also call it heaven. Yes, this is heaven. When this place is what it should be, it's as good as it gets. Let's fix it. All right, don't think other things, okay? And we reincarnate, okay? So we'll live forever. It's just you have to take a break. But it happens past the 270,000 year mark. So, you know, don't be thinking too much. Anyway, and yes, I acknowledge we have a crisis of early return, but we'll end that. Anyway, you have this universe. Next quadrant is hellfire, Osebarua, the fire that carries existence. Those are husband and wife. Then the third quadrant is Obi Atumatu. You could also call that Igwe. And then his wife is prayer. And prayer filters all throughout existence. So those are the three main quadrants. Yes, I got this from... Well, okay, come on. Did I get this totally from Spirit? I mean, everyone who was raised Christian, and no, I'm not bigging up Christianity. I'm just talking about how basic it is. Everyone who's raised Christian at least has some basic info on this. So they tell you there's something called heaven. Obviously, we're in this world. You have H-E double le. You can go off of that. But anyway, this Spirit's helped me with this. Anyway, those are the three main quadrants. And then there's some other outer rings of existence. Beyond existence, there are two main categories. There's Ekejenu, the category outside the extreme. You could also call it Ekejelu, the high category, the category like just the outer limits, okay? And it's crazy because they just don't exist. So what does that mean? There's nothing in their scaffolding. If you can think about it, basically, think about it like this. Every life form is a container. If you exist, there's stuff in your container. In the outer limits, there's nothing in your container. They're not necessarily bad. It's just there's less density to them. Anyway, why am I bringing this up? And then outside of the outer limits, you have other things. Because, like, Z, as in stuff that is, extends out forever. Think of the concept of infinity. It just as everything gets closer and closer to the center, you get closer to the existence, there's more density, okay. So, you have that, right? Throughout this continuum, you have the formation of different life forms. The goal is to form people, onye, the gift that keeps on giving. What are these? These are life forms that continue on forever. That's why the symbol is this circle. Before you get to, and I'm going to talk about the hand of God at the end of this because it all ties in. Before you get to a person, you have to start at the bottom of the ladder. So all of us started as other life forms in other realms, and then we added more to our life form until we became people, right? Before you become a person, you have to become the worst life form, which is called the Nye, just to give. Onye, the universal gift, the gift that keeps on giving, the person. Nye, you just give once and it's gone. The problem is the Nye thinks it will go on forever, even though it will transition to being a person. So it's not nice. These exist in the outer limits. Before you can come into existence, your Nye has to transition into a person. Apparently that's a very hard process. Anyway, that's why I was bringing up the outer limits. But there are some life forms that go beyond being a person. They're beings. So that means they're made up of a combination of persons and they exist on some broader level. And yes, it's hard to envision. I can't even completely envision it. But why am I talking about this? Each cycle of all the things has a largest person that anchors it down. In Amadioha, the good husband of the people, right, has 5 cycles. Kalaakana, the greatest man alive. Amadioha, good husband of the people. Kamalu, greater than mass production. Akanso, overcoming sin. And then the last one, the hand of God. The first 3 are anchored down by people. The last 2 are anchored down by beings. The biggest being is the great-grandfather of the king, the hand of God, the holder of the land. Manifests as that animal you call the grasshopper, also the cricket. Alajide, okay? If you don't believe that's a dominant animal, I mean, just look it up. Look, I mean, I think our category of life, we forget how big we are. Most animals are way smaller than us. Okay, so first of all, that thing is big relative. They can get big. They can be big, and yes, its body is smaller than yours. Although there might be one in the bush we haven't seen. Might be one in the bush we haven't seen. But that thing by itself. Let me tell this story now. When I was a child, right, I grew up I mentioned I was born in what is now called Washington, D.C. I grew up in what is now called Maryland, just outside of D.C., right? If you know Prince George's County, Maryland, I was in there, right? So, I must have been like 9 years old. This was at night. A moth and a cricket entered the house, right? So, and I like animals, and I'm also just a moral person. I didn't want them to be squished. So we had a container actually for containing captured bugs, right? So we put both of them in there. Put the moth and the cricket in there. I went to sleep. Got up in the morning. The cricket was in there. Mind you, this was a sealed container. All that's left of the moth is one piece of its wing. The great-grandfather of the king. So I'll go more into the depth about that story in the future. But what did that teach me? They do not only eat grass. Amadioha, Amadioha. And then, you know, I don't want to make a habit of citing the Bible, but plague of locusts, blah blah blah, to eat all your stuff. If you can eat your vegetables, you can eat your meat. Yeah, and I have art up about the great grandfather of the king. Look at, but also let's be real. Isn't that name cool? The great grandfather of the king. You just be saying that's a cricket, that's a grasshopper. If it comes in front of you now, and then also growing up in Maryland, I saw a lot of spider crickets. Those things are scary. Once one was in my bathroom. I think I didn't enter the bathroom for like 2 days. Yeah. No, those things are serious. No, yeah, and they've been documented preying on other animals. Like, but it's weird that there's just certain animals where there's so much evidence of their power, but we don't talk about it. There's so much evidence of its power, we don't talk about it. And let me not get going too much on that. Speaking of animals, check out Uwama. I have a video up with the great-grandfather of the king in the title. And there's an upcoming video I'm working on, compilation of animal videos called The Hand of God. But anyway, what's the whole point of all this? Side point, respect the great-grandfather of the king. Respect Amadioha, because it can take on all the names of God of Thunder. Okay, that's the God of Thunder. Even just listen to the sound it makes. You know, some of those things, they're attacks, you know. If you're just walking through the woods or whatever, you hear the booming, cheep, 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 aren't you stunned? That's warfare now. Yes, that's natural warfare. The great-grandfather of the king. Anyway. Yeah, anyway, that's a powerful animal. Anyway, but at the same time, if that thing is just right, because obviously I consider that one of my animal archetypes. It's interesting. There are very few of my animal archetypes that I just want to look in the face. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, respect the great-grandfather of the king. But the whole point I'm making is that, because I was talking about, really I was making a point about how, you know, even powerful people need to get to a point where they can relax. That's kind of the point of Amadioha. He's still doling out justice, but he's doing it as a group. And at the end, it's so collective. He's not just one person, he's a team. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, thank you very much. Again, I've noted in the comments, I'm still low on food, so if you can patronize me, please do it with more urgency. But I want to be clear, if you patronize me, you can also get something for yourself. I mean, most of the methods will get something for yourself. On Patreon, you can both buy my art and subscribe for recurring subscriptions. You get a network memberships. Okay, every network has them. You get various benefits. At the highest levels, you can get merchandise. And you also get access to the art if you subscribe. But then you can also buy individual pieces in the digital products store. You can buy my merchandise in my Streamlabs shop. And then you can donate. You can donate on PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. Anyway, thank you very much. And check out my pre-recorded videos and shorts as well. See you next time.